How's everyone enjoying Yaoi-con so far? How many of you were at bingo last night? Raise your hand. How many of you are going to buy a boy tonight? Raise your hand. None of you bid against me or I will get you. Alright, so this is Yaoi in games. This is Yaoi in games. This is Yaoi in games. I'm Cypher. Some of you probably know me. She knows me. I've been going to this convention 12 years. Not counting LA, because screw LA. No offense to any people who actually live there, but you know. My panels are typically very open-ended. We're all going to be discussing things, so I hope you all brought your opinions. I hope you all brought your own ideas. When I thought of this, I was not thinking video games until the panel chair said, "Oh good, someone's doing video games. No one else has signed up for those." And I was like, shit. Because I play World of Warcraft, so obviously Blood Elves, come on. Obviously. But other than that, what?
Oh, pandas.
No. It's about Raytheon and Anduin. Yes. If you don't know what I'm referencing, just Google that real quick. You'll see the picture. It was a Prince and the Last Dragon, and yeah, there's got to be great fanfic out there. Anyways, and fan art. I was actually thinking more along the lines of tabletop games, such as, I don't know if any of you know Exalted.
Yes, that's what got me to this.
The fact that there's only 2 of you makes me weep inside. But I was also looking at more what is actually canon, and not just, you know, oh, my character's gay and we're going to do it this way. But I chose Exalted simply because in one of the books there is a city where, yes, there is gay couples. In fact, it is a religion, and once a year they go and gather and go to the Holy Citadel, and they have a very explicit picture, and it's quite lovely. They also have something called the Scroll of Swallowing Darkness. Let your mind take you where it wants. But since we are going to do video games, I guess we'll have to chat a little bit about that. We have, of course, Dragon Age, which finally has the gay options. Not only the lesbian, but the gay. Yay! Mm-hmm. I wish they were kind of prettier, but whatever. We have Mass Effect, where it took a few times, but we do finally get the Matt Shepard and whoever. I never played it. I just read about it once. Does anyone play Mass Effect? Woo! All right. If you're Matt, who do you get a pair up with?
Oh, you're asking me?
I'm asking anyone who played Mass Effect. Raise your hand and shout out the answer.
The lizard guy. I forgot his name already.
Garrus.
Yeah, Garrus.
Are you videotaping me?
Yes.
Did you ask my permission?
No.
In California, you should ask permission.
Okay.
It's illegal otherwise.
Can I have permission to videotape?
I suppose if you must.
Okay.
But seriously, that is illegal. So, with everything going on, just be careful.
Gotcha.
And remember, no videotaping during the auction.
Yeah.
We will kill you. I am part of the cult of the corn. We have religious... Anyway. So, Yaoi in games. Not just because your characters do it, or because you ship it, but are actually canon in game and actually an option. Name me some games other than Dragon Age and Mass Effect. What other ones can you do that in?
Fear Effect.
Fable.
We have Fable, and you said...
Fear Effect.
Speak louder, we have the group.
Fear Effect.
There we go.
I've never played it, but there are probably people in here who have. I heard from Rana, who you know, that Persona 2 has a / option for your character.
Does anyone play Persona 2? Okay, so this is an unsubstantiated rumor. Someone must go out, buy this game, and test it for us immediately. You have your iPhone, you can just hop on Steam, go for it. So what do we want in our video games? I mean, we have, apparently in Mass Effect, a guy and a lizard, which, okay, alien sex is one thing, but it's also, you know... Yeah. Sentient bestiality, I like that. Okay. We have Dragon Age, where... What are the characters like in Dragon Age?
Mostly bisexual.
Mostly bisexual?
Yeah.
Oh, it's good that we have that representation. It's been severely lacking. So what do we want to see, though, for Yaoi in games? Come on, people. This is an open panel. Chat, talk, give me feedback.
What do you want to see in Yaoi?
I mean, do we want... Lord knows we have the stereotypical gay characters, and we've had a million of those in games, and we still do not want that. We also don't want the transsexual who is obviously a psychopath, because how often has that been the villain? Exactly.
Well, it wouldn't be so bad if there was also a transsexual who was the hero. That would balance things out.
That would be interesting.
Has there been a game? Has there been a game like that?
No.
Is there a game developer in this room? Is there a programmer in this room? There you go. Make your million. You know what you have to do.
It's like that, but there are choice of games. They're mostly text-based games, and a lot of the trans community seems to have been focusing a lot in that. Actually, the owner of Choice of Games is transsexual, and she now comes from the AAA game industry, and she created such a service. And
excellent.
Yes, so choiceofgames.com.
Say that louder so everyone can hear.
Choiceofgames.com.
Choiceofgames.com.
Everyone check it out.
All right, cool.
You send it back to role-playing games again. Were there some other ones you know besides that Exalted you were going to mention?
The other one I was going to mention is White Wolf, now Onyx. I'm sure all of you, some of you.
It's now Onyx, so you mean the World of Darkness.
Yes, World of Darkness.
Vampire, Mage, Changeling.
All
Race.
of them.
Yeah. I religiously followed those years ago.
I see a hand.
Yeah, there's another game involving, it's a Daisy type game called Lady Killer and the Vine. And I believe it features a transsexual protagonist. And it was funded on Kickstarter, and it's coming out in a couple of months, if not already.
Cool. So actually there is one thing I would like to talk about that's not nearly as fun. And how many of you are familiar with Gamergate?
Oh.
There we go. How many of you participated on either side? No judgment. Okay, some judgment.
Could you explain what it is?
Okay, how many of you don't know what Gamergate is?
Oh.
Okay. Gamergate, this is one of the downsides of our fandom, unfortunately. Now that we're becoming more mainstream, like the Republicans, things are crawling out from under the shadow that we never wanted in the first place, but now exists. Sorry for any Republicans in the room, but I really doubt there are any in here. With the exception of the Mormons upstairs. And if you see them, please make out if you look like two guys in front of them. Let's break their mind. So Gamergate sadly someone can correct me, it's been, my last 3 weeks have been hell at work, so my brain's slightly fried. But there were some women gamers who made a couple comments, and the backlash, sexist backlash, involved rape suggestions, murder suggestions. It was violently disgusting, and that was just reading a paragraph of what it was about, not even reading the actual goddamn comments. And that's something that I really wish we would speak up more about, not necessarily in terms of partaking, but in speaking against and saying, hey, no, this is like the Tea Party. We are not them. Yeah. They are a vocal minority that we wish would, die out or go to Russia.
I know a lot of gamers who hate that sort of thing.
Exactly.
And I also know a lot of gamers, I knew a lot of male gamers back in when who were always really welcoming of having women in the group, gaming with them and such. So.
Do you think part of the reason they don't speak up, like Gamergate, the reason the industry itself didn't speak up was because they really are, even though a lot of them totally didn't agree, even a lot of male gamers were like, whoa, this isn't cool, but do you think they there is so much misogyny and negativity of all this, because part of it is the people that fund games are worried, they think that the asshole geek boys are like, if they have to kind of kowtow to them because they think these are the guys, no matter what comes out of their mouth, these are our main money makers. So we let them get away with it.
Room poll, how many people agree with that?
I worry.
Actually, I would, yeah.
It's like they're worried.
I think,
that's
yeah.
what they kind of let them
I worry about it in
that's our main
parallels
wrestling.
I worried about it in a parallel subject, Star Trek, how we didn't have any gay characters for years and years about Star Trek because the men.
That is a whole separate panel. I'm running that tomorrow.
Just to bring the point I'm making is basically, they may not be necessarily the biggest group, but they may be the ones that yell the loudest.
But yes, I do agree that that is probably part of it. Part of it is that we still have a stigma for being gamers. I was watching The Nightly Show. How many people watched The Nightly Show with Larry Wilmore? Wow, okay. No, he's not as good as Colbert or as Jon Stewart, but he's gotten better. He's different, yes. But then he had one that brought up gaming. And the old stereotype reared its ugly head that, oh, of course they're just thrilled that any woman's talking to them, and oh, they're in their basements with their... How many people live with their mother in their basements playing games 24/7? How many? Okay. You're a college student, right?
Actually, that brings up a joke on a TV show. Or there was a TV show that had about Doctor Who, and there was a guy who was a guest star who made this really nasty comment to this guy, and said, when he was answering all the questions about Doctor Who, you've never had a girlfriend, have you? And he turns around and says, points to the female doll that's dressed as a doll, and says, she's my wife.
I saw that. But that's the point. That's part of the problem is the stereotype. And what it also gets back to is we have those stereotypes in the games. Again, we're back to the transsexual evil person who's bad. So how do we get more representation in games without falling into that stereotype? What sort of game do we want? Would we want one where they're the heroes or where they're the sidekicks? Do we want a fantasy genre like Dragon Age or sci-fi, Mass Effect, or do we want just a normal one? What about a Doom-like game where the gay person is the shooter?
Yeah, because it's like a lot of role-playing games, you have the option, but it's like, have we ever seen a gay character, a trans character, or even someone going into transition as like a first shooter? It's very...
Some could argue Halo simply because you never see their face, but let's not go there.
Yeah, canon though, not like
True.
The PC. You can make whatever you want.
That's true.
You want actual canon characters that, in the context of the game, are stated as being, trans or gay.
So what would we want to see? Would we want to expand upon what's been done already, or do we? It sounds like what we want is a protagonist where it is either a first person or going back to Blizzard, Overwatch. It'd be nice if one of the heroes or the villains was gay. Simply because that would be different.
Yeah. Or how about like a non-insulting gay character, like a fighting game, like Street Fighter,
Yeah.
You mean Ken's not gay? that dream was crushed.
His boyfriend could be in the background and you're rooting him on.
Whoever pays attention to the background characters.
I do.
So I've heard a lot from this side of the room. Let's hear some input on this side.
Well, I think one thing that would be really important to have in gaming to move on would be to kind of integrate yaoi, the same sex, and the transgender into it would be it to be portrayed in a favorable and also sort of a matter of fact light, not stereotyping light, because it's like stereotypes are holding up gamers from expressing interest, from getting credit as being politically conscious or gender conscious, and so we can't have stereotypes. And also, it's a good idea to have like a totally stereotypical, gay or transgender character, but at the same time maybe don't be so off from that you don't let them relax and be characters. So I think to promote that it'd have to be there'd be a lot of support for a game sort of like The Last of Us, where one of the main characters, Ellie, has a brief romantic stint with another young girl. So that. I think so. That's my take on it.
And that brings us to another issue: is lesbianism is of course more well regarded than the other.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a stigma that women make up 51% of the United States population. They make up 51% of the world population. Why the hell don't we have more men making out in games? You are the majority, ladies. Even in this room, you're the bloody majority. Why aren't you? Speak up. Why? Do we really think that they won't listen?
Yeah,
I'm sorry, I'm using the royal we. I shouldn't, but whatever.
the problems oh, sorry.
Like I say, we had a raising the hand. Let's go with the raising hand because that is all how we were brought up, I hope. If we were raised at home, well, welcome to the real world.
I would like to think that in the gaming industry, at least in AAA, the majority of developers are male, and that's kind of a fact in the tech industry. I'm also a programmer, and I'm the only female programmer on my team. I know that at the undergraduate level, computer science at least, there are more women coming into the field, but the second they get into the industry and work for a couple of years, they vacate the industry.
Because it's
either multiple reasons, usually like mid-tier level women cannot find promotions, and there's at this point they reach the ceiling, and then they leave the industry. Gaming probably makes sense because there's a lot of negativity associated with it, at least in AAA, maybe losing indie. So there's a couple of reasons, at least academics-wise, why women are entering the field but then leaving in large quantities. So in the game industry, there's less women making games in AAA, which could mean if there was more women making games, then there'd be higher representation of women in the gaming industry, and maybe more diverse female characters in the games, so they have more of a presence.
yes, it would be nice to have more diverse female characters. I just saw a video of the 5 creepiest sex scenes in video games, and the boobs move, but the hair doesn't. Okay.
I was just going to say, speaking to the earlier question, my often reaction in encountering jerks or that sort of thing is to basically walk away. They want to be annoying. I don't want anything to do with them. I go form my own game. I often, if the game source book, I supported White Wolf to the exclusion of everyone else because they were very pro-gay bisexual back in the early 90s.
They still are.
And
although keepers don't really count, but whatever.
yeah, but I basically bought a lot of their books and I supported them momentarily. I gave them my pennies, and this was basically my way of saying I'm supporting the game that supports my interests. And actually, we're being a little bit more acknowledged now than we were back then.
Well, I think part of that is
DunderCon, the numbers have been growing at DunderCon. There are more female gamers there than there were way back when I first started going. So.
Oh, so one geek is now mainstream, so it's a little more acceptable and less social suicide to do that. God, I went to high school in the wrong era. But it's also, there's just more acknowledgement. There's a part of me that thinks it's always been there, but it's never been out. Because there was that stigma attached. Now, granted, you lived through that era more than I did, so you probably saw it more than I did.
I actually told everyone I was a gamer.
Okay.
I didn't hide it.
You were very brave.
I didn't realize there was any stigma on it. I would look people straight in the eye. I would hand them my books. My Changeling books were really pretty. I had a few women who looked at them and went, wow, this is beautiful. So.
I have told people on Friday nights, yeah, I'm just going to go slay a dragon and then maybe destroy a town. And they would give me looks for the first couple of years. And then they're like, oh yeah, your typical Saturday night. So you can get them used to it. You can be sensitized to them. And then there's no more stigma, which is kind of nice. Of course, then there's the high turnover rate. Go there. I see videotape guy is just raised his hand.
Just to add on to that comment earlier, so the reason why there aren't many gay characters, transsexual characters, or much of a female presence in the game industry is that, at least for these AAA games, like publishers are scared to take that step. What they see in the market is, heterosexual people like this game, and it's been this way for so many years. Why change it? Why take this this step where it could potentially, affect how much we earn when the game comes out versus how much we usually earn if it's a heterosexual versus gay or transsexual. But what I will say is that we'll probably see more of this in the indie scene. The indie movement has been getting bigger and bigger over the years through the use of Steam, through the use of other indie Humble Bundle as well. But we'll see more of that in that scene. You won't see much of the gay, openly type of characters in AAA space just because it's such a big risk for publishers.
And that is something that's always been there, is that the indie crowd has always been a little more willing to experiment. I mean, even in any indie situation, we've all seen that South Park episode with indie movies, I'm sure, where, well, what's the indie movie? Oh, it's a bunch of gay
cowboys eating pudding.
Exactly. So they've always been willing to experiment. And while that is said somewhat derogatorily, it's also kind of poking fun that sometimes the indie thing goes a little too far or pokes on the mainstream. Now we're getting some indie things that seem a little more true to what they should be, rather than slightly amusing or too dramatic Brokeback Mountain. If you don't get that reference, wow. Especially at Yaoi-con. Wow. For those of you, since we've had a couple people leave and come in, we're talking about games, Yaoi games, our lack of representation, some Gamergate, and we are expanding to beyond video games, include role-playing. If anyone has board games or card games, I mean, I love the exploding bunnies, but I don't think any of them are gay.
There was a PlayStation game. It wasn't really gay, but it inspired a gay game.
Oh boy.
Or a gay role-playing game.
Which is this?
It was back in the early 90s. It was called Order of the Griffin. And
hold on, anyone know this game, Order of the Griffin?
It was a traditional Dungeons and Dragons game, complete with the sexism.
Of course.
And basically, I just love the whole idea of a vampire taking over the land and turning everybody into his undead minions. I thought it was so cool.
Okay, so like half the yaoi books out there, go on.
Well, of course my brain went into a total yaoi direction with this idea, even though I was playing the regular game, and then I got stuck on the game. And I got really angry about it being stuck. So I started writing a book, which never got finished, which was more of a universe.
Finish.
And then my friends joined in, and we all started writing in this, and it became an interactive yaoi. We all brought in our own bishonen, our own pretty boys, and which we created. And we created basically this universe with a big subplot and a vampire, and this vampires versus clerics.
But did you roll dice?
No. It was non-dice. It was like Amber.
Okay. And speaking of Dungeons and Dragons, yes, there is sexism in there. There's always been sexism in Dungeons and Dragons. This round is a little better, so if you haven't tried 5th edition, give it a shot. They are actually a lot more open to the whole gender-neutral thing. There is no canon male-female pairing. There's also no canon male-male or female-female pairing. They're very much, these are your characters, do with them as you will. They've removed almost all meta plot, which is nice. They're acknowledging us. But it'd be better if they actually acknowledged us in even the artwork. That being said, the half-lead woman is creepy as hell.
I have a question.
I'm actually going to go to her first, sorry.
Just a caveat off of that, I think one of the biggest problems with having gay or bisexual characters right now in games is that when the developers heard that they wanted more representation in games, their answer was, okay, we'll take the romantic pairings and we'll just open them up to anybody and you can do whatever you want. Which isn't really a very good representation, because it's not like they intentionally put in a gay character and said, this person is gay because of who this character is. It's just,
everyone's bi.
we'll just let you do this because you want to. So I think that's one of the biggest problems, is that they're not really looking at it as, we need to represent this characters. They're just sort of giving us the option to make
They don't
it
have
stop
to develop
talking.
an actual gay character. They just take whatever character they are, and you can be gay, straight, you can sleep with the plant, whatever the hell you want.
Right. Just give options.
Which isn't necessarily, it's at least a step in the right, it's a step in the right direction, which is good, but you're right. We do need, you know, a gay guy who can blow people's head off and be very sweet with his guy at home. We need that. I agree. You had a question?
I had a question. It was a follow-up to your comments about Dungeons and Dragons, and it was for anybody in the room who would have an answer. Pathfinder. Is Pathfinder any better than D&D as far as the issues are concerned? Oh, darn.
I would say they have, no, probably not. I haven't.
There's not a lot of like canon, like romance, anything in Pathfinder. So like.
Well, you're not okay. So they don't stop you, but
They don't stop you, but they don't necessarily encourage you. Whereas D&D, they actually have a little kind of sub thing on romances, and they are very gender neutral about it, which is nice. whereas D&D 4th, from what I remember, it was very male-female. I see a hand in the back.
This is actually for Pathfinder and stuff.
Oh.
They're decent as far as a lot of the little side stories that they put out that you can play through and stuff. They're really bad. They have to include at least 3 waifus. Like, I think like the most recent one, they've added a few husbands in there as well. It's not bad.
But it's like the video games where, oh, you can go gay or straight.
Yeah, they're doing a lot better though at that.
Okay. Yeah, as far as I was concerned, Exalted was, they had pictures of naked men with very beautiful tattoos going into a church to have sex.
Oh yeah.
Nothing beats that, and the scroll is swallowing darkness.
Okay.
Yes.
I thought it was cool with the dragon-blooded. Yes, you were expected to get married and produce as many children as possible, but it was also understood that you could have as many concubines of whatever gender you wanted. I mean, there was no problem with you having...
Well, it's like the ancient world. You had a wife, you had to produce an heir, and you had this lovely little consort on the side, and maybe a second, and ignore the jester. And the fact that he's naked.
Though the option was open more to women too, and for the dragon-blooded, you could do the same thing.
Well, you have an empress running. Sorry, we're going off on a tangent, but you have an empress running, and she kicks ass. Yeah, of course the women are going to have a lot of power, which is good. Except that, she marries the evil and is going to destroy the world. Whatever.
That's fun.
Yeah, everyone needs a hobby, right? So, like I said, though, we are hearing a lot from over here. I have heard from one person over here. I'd like to hear anything over here. Opinions on games, Gamergate, on Yaoi, on... We have a half hour to kill. Come on, people.
Speak a little bit about being a woman in the gaming industry. And so I was a developer for a game company for a while. And
I'm so sorry.
it was actually really great. Most people were really great. It just takes like one bad apple to make it not great.
Well, that's usually true in most work situations.
And it's not really like the engineers or the developers that are making the gameplay decisions. They're told what to implement. It's marketing and market research that really hinders equal representation.
Well, yes and no. I now work in market research.
Yeah.
So the question is, are they targeting the right audiences? Are they being literally unbiased? Or are they going to the same forgive the term, fanboys and gamer groups and just getting the same feedback? How unbiased are they actually being in the marketing team?
That's exactly the problem, is that they're so stuck in this rut of like, no, this is the gamer audience, 18 to 35-year-old males, and that is what is marketed to and even in nerd culture, to a marketing department or a product department, that means 18 to 35-year-old male is what gets marketed at. That is the default archetype. And even if you don't have a lot of women in these companies to speak up about it, and even when you do, you kind of get told, oh well,
The token woman.
Yeah, I mean, I think that some places do listen, and there is progress being made, but it's going to take time, and it's going to take.
It's like gay marriage; it'll take a while.
And people speaking, not waiting.
Well, your goal is to infect all these groups immediately so that my company can get involved, because I work in healthcare, and that way I can actually run some of these studies and get it properly represented. So figure out how to infect them all with, I don't know, cystic fibrosis or something.
So I agree with that statement. Also, one thing that game developers need to do better at is when they go to test their game for their user base, they have to have more diverse user base than collecting the 18 to 34-year-old 35-year-old male heterosexual set and start expanding that into a more diverse crowd. And I understand that some game developers do complain, say they cannot find those people, and I'm like, I don't believe that.
No. You stick your head into any room at this con, and you will get a hugely diverse crowd, mostly women.
So also, the way that a lot of these market research things are conducted is they'll do online surveys. And a lot of women don't say they're women on the internet because it's fucking dangerous sometimes.
Yep.
So
Yes.
let's pull our user base. they can't find enough women because, like, sometimes I say I'm a man on forums because I don't want to deal with, you know,
the thought.
Gamergate.
So some people will really get creepy when they find out you're a woman online.
Well, yes, that's what Gamergate ended up.
But
Yeah.
before Gamergate too. though.
No, before that, yeah.
Before that, yeah.
But see, I
And as you
never
said,
even noticed. I now work in that industry which is made up mostly of women, so I'm in the minority. Hell, when I started working, I was the only male secretary for the entire California branch. Do you know what and I was also the only one under 40. It was very awkward for me. So after that, I was kind of like, yeah, I'm not going, you can't judge, because every group is going to be different, and you never know how it's going to be representative. I can't talk, I'm sorry. But I would like to ask a question. We have the women issue, and this is going kind of off Yaoi, which is that, do you run into the same problem with minority representation, either in marketing or in games? Yes, no?
Yes, of course.
Again, I play World of Warcraft mostly, or Civilization, so like yeah. So I'm looking for insight. It sounds like it's the same thing.
I think I read somewhere once that like for video gamers, like it's split 50-50 sex-wise, and then there's a vast majority of minorities who do play video games.
Oh, okay.
But they do not get represented at all in video games, unless they go by tropes. Some very negative stereotypes.
So like the
you got like the black male gangsters, you know, or Hispanic thieves. You're like really
true.
Or the lizard people who surprisingly sound very Chinese in the Senate.
Yeah.
Person that looks like
Mr. T.
Oh yeah, but it says an entire race around that. That's kind of cool. No.
You also get into discussions like when you say things like, you know, the gender split is 50-50, you get into discussions of what a real gamer is, because one of the largest demographics, or monetizing demographics in the last 5 years has been like the quote-unquote housewife archetype because of games like Farmville and Candy Crush.
True.
Those are primarily played by, you know, 35-year-old women. 35 to 50-year-old women is one of the biggest monetizing demographics of those games. But then when that gets brought up at a game company, those aren't real gamers.
Blue hair.
Yeah, I was gonna say that, like, if you notice, like, 90% of video game protagonists are like white, heterosexual, brunette males. And like, even if it's a game like where the protagonist can be customized, always in the trailers is it like the white heterosexual guy, you know?
Well, that's the theory of the universal face. That's probably, yeah. It's like Keanu Reeves. Everyone can recognize Keanu Reeves because his face never changes. He's like,
It's true.
But yes, you're right. And it would be nice to see a representation without, like, San Andreas Fault. That's the one I can think of that is a minority protagonist, except he's a bad guy. He's a gangster. And he happens to be Hispanic. He has to be Hispanic? I mean, come on. Can't. Lord knows how many gangsters were white in the 60s and 50s. Come on.
This is off the subject of games. I rather like the fact that Samuel Jackson was a bit of a white-collar criminal in The Kingsman, who didn't like violence.
Again, that's tomorrow's panel. But yeah, well, Samuel L. Jackson is just awesome in general. I think we can all agree with that. If he was on stage tonight, he would be going for thousands of dollars. We'd all be pooling together.
That'd be great.
I guess I shouldn't tell you that I almost got a Supernatural actor to join in and almost made him a Dishy this year.
Oh, wow. That'd have been crazy.
All because he dressed up as my Little Mermaid at a Supernatural con. If you'll know who I'm talking about, there's pictures. But he didn't do it. Anyways, try harder. I see him again next year. We'll see. But it's after con, unfortunately, so. But I tried. God knows I tried. Games.
Oh,
Oh, back to the representation of blue hair, who is currently leaving our room. One of the biggest complaints about World of Warcraft. What skin tone can humans have?
White.
Shades of white.
Yes.
There are no black humans
All
that
shades
are
of white.
PCs in World of Warcraft, and I can't even think of. I think there's like 5 black NPCs that I can think of off the top of my head. I don't know their names; they're just generic. Nice.
Admittedly, Lord of the Rings, it's pretty European towards the north, but everyone down south is not like the smart one, it seems. The Variags. Well, it's interesting. There was a game called Mercs that was out in the early 90s, where you could play a variety of characters who were not so pale. However, if you were one of the darker races, there's a chance that your people were allied with Sauron during the first one. Because everybody south of Mordor and Gondor is pretty much basically
Evil.
Well,
So we have the stereotype that black equals evil. Oh, wonderful.
though they're not necessarily as blatantly evil as say the orcs are. I mean, orcs were pretty much.
Orcs are just filthy creatures that must be obliterated. I'm sorry, I am so tired of orcs in WoW. Oh, God. May they all be exterminated. Anyways, that's the blood elf in me. I do apologize. I'm a warlock. What do you expect?
The elves were stolen and then twisted and.
That's true, because the
Yeah,
orcs were originally
minorities were
elves.
what? Now, what?
Yeah, that's true.
They were stolen from their homeland and twisted.
They were kept on. They're drow. They're basically drow that got mutated. And that's another thing. Why do drow have to be evil? I'm sorry. Just because they're dark skinned, they're evil.
Also, they're matriarchal.
They're matriarchal, but the women are also known to sacrifice, kill, and eat their men. That
actually has a underlying nature. They're like spiders.
True.
Spiders do that.
True.
There's a lot of insects.
And that's a whole other panel.
Star Wars.
Star Wars, 2 women in the original trilogy.
Yeah.
Talk about lack of, and 1 black guy. Talk about lack of representation.
2 black guys.
2?
Mace Windu.
No, original trilogy. Original trilogy.
Lando Calrissian.
It was Lando.
You expanded to all 6, and you got what, 3? Wow, 3.
So much.
No, she burns. She has less than 5 minutes on screen. She doesn't count. No. And besides, she's dead. No, we're talking about the woman who announces. She's the one who says lots of Bantas died to bring us this information.
That's Mon Mothma.
That's Mon Mothma.
She's actually the main leader of the Rebel Alliance.
Yeah, Mon Mothma.
So, yeah, when she was training Leia in a lot of the fanfic to take over her place.
Fanfic or expanded universe?
Expanded universe, okay, it's published fanfic.
Yes, I know, but we have to differentiate here because we have my Avengers, which is expanded universe in my head, and then there's, the comic books, which is the actual expanded universe and alternate universes, etc., etc., etc.
Well, the fanfic is awesome, and then you get all sorts of slash and stuff.
Oh, yes, no, I know. I have 2 big sayings. Go out, read them, they're awesome. Anyways.
Yeah, there was a beautiful fanfic where Londo actually talked about all of his unrequited crushes, namely Leia and Mara Jade. And then he looks at Luke and says, you. And he's like, what? And he says, I remember the first time I met you. You were bleeding battered. I picked you up, and all I could think is that you were beautiful.
Aww. Which is beautiful. But again, we should be focusing, that's another panel.
Sorry.
But back to games. So what do? How do we change this? Do we just get more vocal, or... I mean, yes, women certainly make up the majority, but yeah, you guys get shouted down way too much and threatened, and with everything going on social media, your addresses, numbers, everything can be found far too easily. This is why I'm private on everything. I recommend it, especially since I know exactly how much information we can harvest on you. That's part of my job. It's frightening as hell. I nearly deleted all my accounts because of that. Holy shit. Erase that from the video. I don't want us to ever see that. But we have a couple game programmers here that are women. Did she leave?
She went to the RSL.
Form your own company. Hire women only. Become CEOs and empowered. dominate the industry.
Hey, I was going to
There you
say,
go.
more people play Exalted. Play Exalted. Play Exalted. You got your.
So let's boil it down to
Bury them.
what games should we play? We do have the problem that it's just everyone's bisexual, but which ones do we feel have the best representation at this moment for video games?
Play more Exalted.
Dragon Age and Mass Effect.
Yep.
Basically BioWare.
Pretty much.
BioWare.
Yeah.
Okay, so BioWare is who we keep our eye on.
Yeah.
Women, that is who you infiltrate and take over.
What about?
Also really involved with the fandom, and they're very willing to listen to feedback.
That's right.
You
Change
can
it into.
tweet
You
directly
have your marching orders.
You can tweet directly at the main writers of a lot of BioWare staff will hear you and will reply.
And they do have a lot of women over there.
They have quite a number of women. Not as many female programmers, but most of their
Are they headquartered here?
they're in Canada. Yeah.
Where?
Edmonton.
Edmonton? Are there any anime cons in Edmonton?
Yeah, there's
I
tons.
know that as much. They have
Okay, there you go.
showing at PAX.
Get cozy with them at PAX. Tell them about Yaoi-con. Get them down here to enjoy what we
I think
love.
they're well aware of that.
Are they here? Are they physically here where we can show them the pretty tonight?
So you should just check out their blogs because they're like, yeah, you guys send us very interesting things and we love them all.
Interesting things.
Yeah, I know that there's going to be some BioWare writers at GamerX in San Jose this year.
Go, chat, talk. I will be busy working. You were going to say something? Who stands on his head?
No, I was going to add, there's another game actually that has the ability, to be gay or lesbian, was Saints Row. It just totally went over my head, not figuratively, just a minute ago. Yeah, well, in Saints Row, like in the latest one, you can definitely have that option to do it. And it is Saints Row. It's I think that the latest one, the third, I think it was called.
Saints Control?
Oh, Saints 4? Oh, okay, good. Yeah.
I think what also makes BioWare interesting is the characters that actually aren't gay or bi, and this you can interact with the character that's like, and that's like one of the few things where it's like you have characters that aren't, that are hetero, even if you try to like romance them, you have an actual reaction with like somebody's like, whoa, I'm not, I'm not interested. And that's almost as important as like the characters themselves dealing.
Not just a non-reaction.
Yeah, like some people are gonna some of the characters get uncomfortable around like, whoa, I'm really uncomfortable with this, and others will be like, you know what, I just don't swing that way. But it's like that's kind of almost as important is these characters that aren't,
acknowledging that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And the same with like if they could get characters dealing with like the concept of a woman, woman fighter versus it's the same thing. It's like as cool as it is that they get these to be react.
To be just as real as the primary.
Because otherwise it's just fake. Because if we can all live in La La Land and have like
that's
we all
not
have
fanfic, yes.
but when you have to like that helps people because it's like oh well I can interact with kind of people, I make people uncomfortable in this game. I can fucking do this in real life.
You had your hand up?
So I also wanted to do another drag race. There's a character, Krem, who is a transgender character, and you have the opportunity to have a very long conversation with her about her transition. Him about his transition. And you can, sure, you can be a little bit of a dick about it, but he'll shut you down.
Well,
the goal will shut you down. The goal will shut you down, yes.
It's good to be a little bit of a dick. All my characters are a little bit a lot.
Because the first Dragon Age didn't do so well with transgender characters because they treated them like crap. But they received feedback from their user base about that treatment, and they said you should move away from that, and they have.
So earlier someone mentioned Fable. What can you do in Fable?
Marry everyone.
Yeah, you can pretty much get married to like whoever you want, and then get married to another person that's like just whatever. It's completely open.
Oh, okay. So it's like the Avengers, where all of them are gay. Got it.
I was just wondering because one subject didn't come up is VL games, which were kind of in for a while that were talked about. Are there any that are still going on that are popular now? VL games?
Ladies?
VL.
Which one?
The VL games, Murder, No Thank You. is another BL game.
What's the murder one? I like murder.
Grammatical murder.
Tell me about this game.
It's another visual novel game.
You say that as if I know what this is. Explain it to me.
So it's a game.
Slowly.
Yeah, there's
Oh.
some cosplay, one cosplayer for one of the main characters for grammatical murder.
Catboys and.
But is it actually about murder or not?
There's really bad endings as.
Then why is there a murder in the title? I want my murder mysteries to happen. Anyway.
There is a murder game that has a lesbian pairing that's canon. It's called Liar Liar. It's like 15 minutes long. But yeah. So like, they end up together and it's like exclusively canon.
See, I like the title. I just hate how misleading it is now. God damn it.
They're liars.
So what other VL games do we have?
She was mentioning one just now.
Speak up.
Oh, the one you were just mentioning, the cat.
Memento?
Memento.
With the cats and cannibalism and murder and demons and.
Okay, that sounds more up my stream. After that.
I just have to mention though, as well on top of the grammatical murder, description-wise, it involves, if you like .hack, there's a little bit of that element, because there's crossover of video game, like a fighting video game that people play in the real world, and then there's disappearances, and lots of pretty boys.
I have demons and murder and sacrifice up here. It's gonna win, I'm sorry.
But it's popular enough to have its own anime series.
Yes.
Is it good? Is it a decent anime?
Yes, it's very pretty. It's very pretty. And it's got a very electronic.
Are we all regretting that there's no DVD sellers in the dealer's room now? Because I'd love to go and see it, but alas.
They've been showing episodes in the AMV room.
Like I'm gonna have time to go to the AMV room. I have real boys that I can get to my room. Why would I want to go watch AMVs? Come on!
Yeah, they're your life.
I can do that the rest of the year. For 3 days, I can have actual men. Thank you very much. So any other games though? Let's move off of video games real quick. Oh, if you have another video game, speak up.
What do you mean, what else? Are you talking about like tabletops?
Tabletops, board. If you know a card game, a boys love card game. If not, someone develop it now.
Yes,
Well,
I
you
know,
go to
I know
Gamers.
one character. Bloom. If you get the expanded extension of Bloom, you have the family of artists. You have a character in that family who's called Simon Simon, who it says basically gender is just another role for him, her.
Okay.
So this is my blog.
Okay. No, that's you.
So it's me. You can attend GamerX, which is a gay gaming convention here in California. I think they're on their second or third year, I can't recall. And I'm pretty sure there's plenty of gay games there, as well as lesbian games. I just never attended.
I thought it was more toward gay gamers than gay games, so to speak.
Well, it's gay. Well, it's game. Yeah, developers potentially are gay, but they're probably also making gay games.
They could just be making games
So they could
and
just
playing
be
with
making
games.
games
Yeah.
and playing games.
No, I know. I actually have a friend who helped fund it this year, and I just need to get there. Haha, snicker, snicker.
There's like web games that might tend to be like
Oh, yeah.
Starfighter. I know. That's a more recent one that just came out.
Starfighter now has canon gay.
Different Starfighter.
Different Starfighter.
Yeah,
Okay.
webcomic.
Oh, okay. I was like, wait a minute.
Not the 80s one.
Got it. Okay. I was like, well, everything's being remade now. What do you expect?
That's true.
I mean, Lord knows, next time Mario comes out, it'll be Mario and Luigi, the lovers. Yes, I know.
Great.
Twincest is best.
Yeah.
Has everyone noticed we have beautiful twins at the registration desk this year? Anyway, what about other games? Any other games? I see a hand in the back. Far back. No, far back. You were first.
I was going to say, as far as role-playing games go, Legend of the Five Rings.
Ooh, that's a good one.
The thing is there are actually quite a few canon gay and lesbian couples in there.
Legend of the Five Rings?
Yes.
Oh.
In the game, not the books, the game.
Yeah, and and also the collectible card game, which nobody should invest their money into. But
Death Trap as in it's not worth it, or Death Trap as in it's like Pokemon, you have to buy more every year.
You have to buy more every year.
Okay, so in this group, it doesn't matter. They're going to invest one way or the other. If you mentioned they're a pretty gay man there.
I was going to say, if anybody's interested in it, just look up the Crane Clan. That's all I have to say. They are the prettiest pretty boys you will ever find.
Talk amongst yourselves.
Really?
Okay, I will go look that up later. Anyway, but yes, so boiling it all down, be more vocal, stand up. If you have to say you're a guy, fine, but privatize your security and stand forward as a girl.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that. I am a guy. No one would come pick on me. Look at how large I am. I am the sweetest guy you'll ever meet, but I look scary as hell sometimes. I still privatize though. There is nothing wrong with saying, this is my life. Yes, I'd like to share amongst friends, but yeah, you creeps out there, stay the hell away. But I'm also going to speak up. I've spoken up a couple times. Not on Gamergate, because I learned about it after the fact and the last to know everything, but on a few other issues. It's important though. We need to be more vocal. We need to found a video game run by women.
Well, it's called Revolution 60.
That'll work. And we need to get...
Game dev company in
Okay.
Boston.
Oh, okay. Everyone check it out. Everyone give them money.
I think they're called Giant Space Cats. That's their company's name. Their game is called Revolution 60.
But if we want to get more representation, positive representation, accurate representation, we have to be more active in this community so that we don't have just everyone is bi, even though some people will react differently. Or yet another transsexual who is mad and trying to kill the world. So, that is it. That was a little screw loose panel. I do apologize. But have a great day. Do not purchase against me. I will sue you.